So this will be the wet-dry trickle filter that we'll be using, and you can see the protein skimmer in there as well. Since this is going to be a cold water system, we want to try to retain as much of the coldness as possible. So over the course of the last year, all the boxes that I received the fishes in, which typically have styrofoam inserts, I've been collecting all of that stuff. And we now have got to the point where we need to start positioning that. I don't know if you can see this, but I've kind of already started putting some of it behind the middle row of the Phyra tanks. Well, we're at a point now where as we begin to assemble the plumbing that's going to draw or drain down into the filter, and at some point where the pump itself will draw water out, we need to get the filter onto some of that styrofoam. So this is the time to take care of that now.
I can take 2 of these sheets, place them end to end, and then lift the wet-dry trickle filter over on top of them. This will help insulate the bottom of the filter against the cement floor.
So this is the beginning point of the return side. This would be the hole drilled in the end of the wet-dry trickle filter, and this is where the water pump will attach to and ultimately draw the water out of the lowest point in the system, which again is the wet-dry trickle filter. So we need to slip a bulkhead into that hole there.
This is a standard 1-inch bulkhead with a gasket on the inside and the white collar for use of tightening on the backside.
And you don't have to over-tighten, it just needs to be snug, because there's a rubber gasket in there that you're compressing. You don't want to over-compress it, and just by getting it snug, it compresses enough and creates a very good seal. So when constructing any kind of a central type system, typically the water pump is the heart of the system. If the water pump goes down, the patient doesn't make it. So you want to be smart when you select that pump in a number of ways. Reliability of the pump, the ability to get replacement parts, how quickly you can get those parts or a replacement pump, and depending upon the investment in your system, you may want to consider having a second pump on hand. Not only does the Moon Jellyfish system use this brand, this model pump, this system for the sea nettles will as well, so it was only appropriate, and I felt good that I was able to have to obtain one pump to have as a backup for both systems. A little more economical, I guess. That doesn't mean be cheap, just be smart in your purchases in the design of your system. This particular pump I'm real fond of. It's a strong pump, it's a reliable pump. There are a handful of external centrifugally driven pumps on the market. This is the one that I like. They package it real well too. Now, since this is for all intents and purposes my breeding laboratory, breeding room, whatever you want to call it, we all know that I'm going to spill water. There's going to be the fish system over here. Could be either one of the systems, the seahorses over there. It could be me refilling the containers out front, or most likely I have a tendency to at least once a month overflow the reverse osmosis reservoir. So the point being that we don't want the pump to sit directly on the floor. So we're going to place a piece of styrofoam as a buffer so that it doesn't have to sit in water once a spill does occur. So we need to take that in consideration as we assemble and position all the plumbing. So isn't it ironic that as we get the two pumps, or the pump, down near the inlet, we find that they really don't line up at all. And since I'm using hard pipe and various fittings, that's going to be a problem. So do we sacrifice the styrofoam, or do we raise the wet-dry trickle filter? And I think raising the wet-dry trickle filter would be the appropriate, since I have an abundance of styrofoam sheets here.
Definitely the better solution, but much easier said than done.
Okay, that's all nicey nice. And the bottom of the wet-dry trickle filter will retain the coolness of the water. We'll also want to do it to the back side, but at least I've got everything, foundation-wise positioned so I can begin to assemble the rest of the plumbing. And now with the thicker 2 layers of styrofoam, the pump and its bulkhead line up, so we can start assembling the plumbing at this point. Okay, so even the best laid plans have to get changed. I quickly realized that this is a slip fitting down here and this is a threaded fitting, and I knew that, but I didn't take that into consideration when I selected the plumbing item. So we're going to be clever, and we'll be able to rationalize it by turning the pump at a 90-degree angle, because I know I have an elbow that's thread on one end and slip on the other, and that way we can put our union in here. It'll also, and here's the rationalization, be attractive because the pump for the other system, they'll be in a line with each other. So I guess whatever floats your boat, huh? So there's our slip fitting. Here's our union. Now you want to also be smart as to how you position the union. The union allows 2 halves to come together. You have the ball valve half and the just adapter half. So the idea with the union ball valve is to be able to close the flow of water so nothing goes through, and then be able to separate and remove the pump. Okay, so by doing that you can do so, but if you don't have the valve on the water side, I mean, once the water pump's turned off, there's just the flow of water out of the wet-dry filter. So the point is, we want the valve half on the aquarium or the filter side of it, so that when we do have to remove this, we close the valve, we separate and remove the pump, but the valve is holding the water back in the reservoir. So we'll slide that into place. PVC stub. Here's our elbow, slip, thread. So this will thread onto the pump. And that all works out nicey nice. And looks good too. Functional, looks good, and creates a little more room available in the space, because keep in mind I have to bring another drain line from this other grow out tank over, up, and back in to this fitting up here. So that works out well and looks good.
Join us again for part 5 as we hook up the discharge plumbing, including passing the lines in and out of the wall to the chiller that we place outside.